My mother confessed at Christmas dinner, the DNA test was fake. Your daughter is yours. I've been gone for 5 years. I got in my car immediately. Posted in r/true off my chest. I'm writing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep. My hands are still shaking. I don't even know where to begin, but I need to get this out before I lose my mind. 3 days ago, I thought I understood my life. I thought I knew what happened to my marriage. I thought I knew who my mother was. I was wrong about everything. Let me start from the beginning. The confession. Christmas dinner. My parents' house. The same dining room where I've eaten hundreds of meals, where I proposed to my wife 15 years ago, where I announced my daughter's birth. My mother had invited the whole family. My father, my sister and her husband, my 2 nephews. She'd been acting strange all day, quieter than usual, moving through the kitchen like she was sleepwalking through her own life. We'd just finished the main course. Turkey, stuffing, the works. My mother stood up from her chair, and I noticed her hands were trembling. She was gripping her napkin so hard her knuckles had gone white. "I have to tell you something," she said. Her voice cracked. "I've been carrying this for 5 years, and I can't do it anymore." My father looked up from his plate. "What are you talking about?" She was crying now. Not the delicate tears she usually produced when she wanted sympathy. These were ugly, heaving sobs that shook her whole body. I'd never seen my mother like this. Not at funerals. Not when her own mother died. "The DNA test," she said, looking directly at me. "It wasn't real. I faked it. Your daughter is yours. She always was." The room went silent. I mean truly silent, that kind of silence that feels like the air has been sucked out of the space. My sister's fork clattered against her plate. My father's face went pale. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stared at my mother as 5 years of my life rearranged themselves in my mind like a kaleidoscope being shaken by an earthquake. "What did you just say?" My voice didn't sound like my own. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I never thought it would go this far. I thought you'd move on. I thought you'd find someone better. Someone who deserved you. I never thought." "What did you do?" She flinched like I'd struck her. In 36 years, I'd never raised my voice to my mother. Not once. "I took your daughter's hairbrush," she whispered. "When you were at work. I paid a man, I found him online, to create fake results. I matched her DNA with some stranger's sample. I made it look like she wasn't yours." The room started spinning. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. "You destroyed my marriage," I said. "You destroyed my family. You took my daughter from me." I know. I'm so sorry." I don't remember standing up. I don't remember walking to the door. I just remember my sister calling my name, my father shouting something, and then I was outside in the cold December air, fumbling for my car keys with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Update 1. The backstory, how she destroyed everything. To understand what my mother did, you need to understand what I had. I met my wife when I was 21. She was a server at a restaurant near my college, working her way through nursing school. She wasn't for money. Her father had left when she was young. Her mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. She was the first person in her family to go to college. My mother hated her from the moment I introduced them. I didn't see it at first. I was young, in love, blind to the subtle ways my mother undermined our relationship. The backhanded compliments about my wife's appearance. The concerns about her family background. The way she'd compare her unfavorably to my sister's husband, who came from a good family with money and connections. "She's just not on your level, sweetheart," my mother would say. "You could do so much better. What about that nice girl from the Hendersons? She has such lovely manners." But I loved my wife. I loved her work ethic, her kindness, her determination. I loved how she laughed at my terrible jokes and cried at sad movies. I loved how she made our small apartment feel like home. We got married when I was 25. My mother wore black to the wedding. She claimed she couldn't find anything else, but my sister told me later she'd bought the dress specifically for the occasion. A funeral dress for what she considered the death of her son's potential. For 10 years, my wife put up with my mother's passive-aggressive comments, her constant criticisms, her barely concealed contempt. She did it because she loved me. She smiled through dinners where my mother, accidentally, forgot to set a place for her. She ignored the Christmas gifts that were always just slightly insulting, diet books, skin cream for aging skin, cooking classes because every wife should know how to cook. Then our daughter was born. I thought things would change. I thought having a grandchild would soften my mother. And for a while, it seemed like it did. She doted on my daughter, spent hours at our house, offered to babysit whenever we needed a break. But looking back now, I realize she was just biding her time. Gathering ammunition. Waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When my daughter was 8 years old, my mother called me at work. Her voice was grave, concerned, dripping with false sympathy. "Sweetheart, I need to tell you something. I didn't want to be the one to say this, but I saw your wife with another man. At a coffee shop. They were intimate." I didn't believe her at first. My wife wasn't like that. We were happy. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but whose is? But my mother was persistent. Over the next few weeks, she planted seeds of doubt. She'd accidentally mention things she'd heard about my wife. She'd ask pointed questions about our relationship. She'd suggest that my daughter didn't look quite like me. "Have you noticed her eyes?" she asked one day. "They're such a different shape from yours. And her nose. I'm just saying, it's strange." I started watching my wife differently. Started noticing things that probably meant nothing. She worked late sometimes. Was that suspicious? She had a male friend from work. Was that inappropriate? The paranoia my mother planted grew like a cancer in my mind. And then she delivered the killing blow. She showed up at my office with an envelope. Inside was a DNA test report from what looked like a legitimate laboratory. I still remember the cold feeling that spread through my chest as I read the results. Probability of paternity, 0%. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," my mother said, holding me as I cried. "I had to know. For your sake. I took a sample from your daughter's hairbrush and had it tested. I know it was wrong, but I couldn't watch you live a lie." I didn't question it. Why would I? This was my mother. The woman who raised me. The woman who loved me more than anyone in the world. I confronted my wife that night. She denied everything. She cried. She begged me to believe her. She offered to take another test, a real one. But I was too far gone. My mother's poison had done its work. I saw my wife's protests as the desperate lies of a caught cheater. I saw her tears as manipulation. I filed for divorce the next week. The proceedings were brutal. My wife fought for custody of our daughter, and she won. I was the one who'd initiated the divorce, the one who'd refused to believe her. The judge saw me as an abandoning father. I got limited visitation rights that I was too ashamed and too broken to use. I moved to another city. I couldn't bear to see them. Every time I looked at my daughter, I saw a lie. A betrayal. A reminder of everything I'd lost. 5 years. 5 years I stayed away. 5 years my daughter grew up without a father because I was too blind to see what my mother had done. My mother destroyed my family because she didn't like my wife. She stole 5 years of my daughter's life from me. She watched me suffer through the divorce. She watched me move away. She watched me drink myself to sleep night after night. And she said nothing. For 5 years, she said nothing. Update 2. The Drive, Racing Against Time. After I left my parents' house on Christmas night, I drove. I didn't consciously decide where I was going. My body just knew. Muscle memory from years of taking the same route, before everything fell apart. I drove to my ex-wife's house. The house that used to be our house. The house where I'd carried her over the threshold on our wedding night. The house where we'd brought our daughter home from the hospital. The house I'd walked away from 5 years ago. The drive took 2 hours. I broke every speed limit. I'm honestly lucky I wasn't pulled over, because I was in no condition to be operating a vehicle. My vision was blurred with tears. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel. All I could think about was time. All the time I'd lost. Every birthday I'd missed. Every Christmas morning I wasn't there for. Every scraped knee I didn't kiss. Every nightmare I didn't comfort her through. My daughter was 13 now. When I left, she was 8. She'd been a little girl who still believed in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. Now she was a teenager. I'd missed everything. I pulled into the familiar neighborhood just after 11 p.m. The streets were quiet, most houses dark, Christmas lights twinkling on porches and rooftops. And then I saw it. Through the front window of my old house, illuminated by warm yellow lamplight, I saw my ex-wife. She was hugging a man. I saw her through the window with another man and my heart stopped. The embrace looked comfortable, familiar. He was tall, well-dressed, attractive. She was smiling at him in a way I remembered, that particular smile she used to save for me. I sat in my car, engine idling, and felt my heart shatter all over again. I was too late. Of course I was too late. What did I expect? That she'd spent 5 years waiting for me? That she'd put her life on hold for the man who'd abandoned her based on his mother's lies? She'd moved on. She'd found someone who believed in her. Someone who stayed. I put my car in reverse. I was going to drive away. I was going to go back to my empty apartment and finish what the alcohol had been slowly doing for years. What was the point anymore? My hand was on the gear shift when I heard my name. Wait. I looked up. My ex-wife was running across the lawn in her socks, no coat, her breath making clouds in the cold December air. Wait. Please wait. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just watched her approach the car, her face illuminated by the headlights. She yanked open my car door. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Her voice was shaking. "Why are you here?" "I know," I managed. "I know everything. My mother, the DNA test, she faked it. She confessed tonight." My ex-wife's face went through about 15 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, disbelief, rage, grief, and then something I didn't expect, relief. "Get out of the car," she said. "The man. Get out of the car." I obeyed. I stood in the cold, shivering, unable to look at her. "That was my co-worker," she said. "He brought over paperwork I needed to sign for a patient transfer. He's married with 3 kids and left 30 seconds ago." I looked at her then. Really looked at her. She was older, of course. We both were, but she was still beautiful. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, and gray streaks in her hair. Lines and gray hairs I'd put there. 5 years, she said, and her voice cracked. 5 years, I've been telling anyone who would listen that I never cheated. That the test must have been wrong. That something was off. But you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't even take another test. "I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been waiting for you," she said, and now she was crying too. "For 5 years, I've been waiting. I knew something was wrong. I knew you'd figure it out eventually. I didn't know it would take this long." I broke down right there in her driveway. I fell to my knees in the cold grass and I sobbed like a child. She knelt down next to me and held me, and we stayed there for I don't know how long, crying together in the December cold. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "I know," she said. "I know you are." Update 3. The hardest conversation. Facing my daughter. My ex-wife, I still called her that then, though the label felt wrong, invited me inside. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, and she made tea. It was surreal. Like stepping into a time machine. "She's asleep," my ex-wife said, nodding toward the hallway. "You can't see her tonight. You can't just spring this on her at midnight on Christmas." "I know. I need to understand. What was it like? These 5 years?" She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was measured, controlled, the voice of someone who'd spent years processing trauma. "It was hard," she said. "It's still hard. Do you know what it's like to have your daughter ask why Daddy left? To have her come home from school crying because someone asked about her father and she didn't know what to say?" "No," I whispered. "I don't." She blamed herself at first. She thought she did something wrong. It took 2 years of therapy for her to stop believing that. I closed my eyes. The guilt was a physical weight on my chest. "I never stopped loving you," she continued. "That's the pathetic part. I was furious at you. I hated what you did to us. But I never stopped loving you. I always hoped you'd come back. Why didn't you reach out? Why didn't you fight harder?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I did fight. I sent you letters. I called. I emailed. I even showed up at your apartment once, about a year after the divorce. Do you remember that?" I shook my head. That year was a blur of alcohol and self-pity. "Your mother answered the door," she said. "She was visiting you. She told me you never wanted to see me again. That you'd moved on. That I should stop embarrassing myself. I felt sick. I gave up after that," she continued. "I thought, maybe it was for the best. Maybe you were happier without us. I tried to move on. I went on a few dates. Nothing serious. My heart wasn't in it. And our daughter?" "She's incredible," my ex-wife said, and for the first time, she smiled. "She's so smart. So kind. She's in 8th grade now. She loves science and hates math, just like you. She's on the swim team. She has your laugh, that ridiculous snorting laugh that used to drive your mother crazy. The mention of my mother sent a spike of rage through me. What do I tell her? I asked. How do I explain this? Carefully, she said. Honestly. With a therapist present, probably. She's not going to understand at first. She might be angry. She has every right to be. We talked until dawn. We cried. We yelled. We apologized. We worked through 5 years of pain in one brutal, beautiful night. When the sun came up, I heard footsteps in the hallway. My daughter appeared in the kitchen doorway. She was taller than I expected, nearly my height now, with her mother's eyes and my messy hair. She was wearing pajamas with cartoon cats on them, and she looked half asleep. Then she saw me. Her face went through the same cascade of emotions her mother's had. Shock. Confusion. And then, something I didn't deserve, hope. Dad. Hey, sweetheart, I said. My voice broke on the words. She didn't run to me. She didn't throw her arms around me. She just stood there, frozen, uncertain. What are you doing here? I looked at my wife. She nodded. I came back, I said. I should have come back a long time ago. I'm sorry I didn't. My daughter is 13 now. She doesn't fully understand what happened. She just knows Daddy left and didn't come back. How do I explain that Grandma lied? How do I tell her that the woman who used to bake her cookies and spoil her at Christmas deliberately destroyed our family? I couldn't. Not yet. I made a mistake, I told her that morning. A big one. I believed something that wasn't true, and I left when I should have stayed and fought. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She cried. I cried. We all cried. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. Update 4. The rebuild, one day at a time. Rebuilding wasn't easy. You can't just erase 5 years of pain with, I'm sorry. But we tried. Every single day we tried. The first few months were brutal. I moved back to town. I rented an apartment about 20 minutes from my old house. My daughter visited on weekends, and those visits were awkward, painful, full of long silences and aborted conversations. She was angry with me. Justifiably so. Why did you leave? She asked me once, about 3 months into our reconciliation. And don't give me the vague adult answer. I want to know the real reason. I told her the truth. Not all of it. She didn't need to know every detail of her grandmother's manipulation, but enough. I told her that someone had lied to me about something very important. That I'd believed the lie without checking. That I'd been wrong. Was it Grandma? She asked. I couldn't lie to her. Not anymore. Yes. She was quiet for a long time after that. Then she said, I thought so. She was always weird about Mom. Even when I was little. She used to say mean things when you weren't around. My heart broke all over again. We started family therapy, all 3 of us. It was excruciating. The therapist made us confront things we'd rather have buried. My ex-wife's lingering trust issues. My daughter's abandonment trauma. My guilt and self-hatred. But slowly, things got better. My daughter started calling me again. Not Dad at first, just my first name, like I was a stranger she was getting to know. But eventually, the Dad came back. And with it, tentative smiles. Inside jokes. Moments that felt almost normal. My wife, she became my wife again, though it took time, was incredible. She had every right to shut me out, to punish me for what I'd done. But she didn't. She extended grace I didn't deserve. I'm not doing this for you, she told me once. I'm doing it for her. She needs her father. And she needs to see that people can forgive each other. That families can heal. We started dating again. It felt bizarre, dating my own ex-wife, but also right. We went to dinner. We walked in the park. We talked for hours like we had when we were young. After about a year, she let me move back into the house. This is probationary, she said, half joking. 1 wrong move and you're out. Understood. We got remarried 2 years after that Christmas night. Small ceremony. Just us and our daughter and a few close friends. My sister came. My father came. My mother was not invited. Update 5. The Reckoning, what I did to my mother. For the first 2 years of my reconciliation with my wife and daughter, I didn't speak to my mother. Complete silence. She tried to contact me. Constantly. Phone calls. Letters. She showed up at my apartment once. I didn't answer the door. She tried to ambush me at my sister's house. I left immediately. My father became the middleman, passing along messages I didn't want to hear. "She's sick," he told me one day. "Not life-threatening, but she's not doing well. The guilt is eating her alive." "Good," I said. He looked at me sadly but didn't argue. Here's the thing about what my mother did. It wasn't just a lie. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a calculated, premeditated destruction of everything I loved. She spent weeks planting seeds of doubt. She paid money to create fake documents. She looked me in the eye as I cried and told me she was sorry when she was the cause of all of it. She watched me fall apart, and she did nothing. She's my mother. I'll always love her on some primal level. But there are some betrayals so profound that love isn't enough to bridge them. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: my wife. "You should see her," she said one evening, about 2.5 years into our reconciliation. I stared at her. "Are you serious? She's still your mother. What she did was unforgivable, but she's getting old. Your father says her health is declining. I'm not saying forgive her. I'm not sure I ever will. But if she dies while you're still estranged..." "I don't care." "Yes, you do. That's why you're so angry." She was right. Of course she was right. My wife has always seen me more clearly than I see myself. I agreed to limited contact. One meeting. One chance. The meeting. We met at a coffee shop. Neutral territory. My wife came with me for support but sat at a different table, close enough to intervene if needed. My mother looked older. Smaller. The 2 years had aged her more than the previous 10. Her hair was entirely gray now, and her hands trembled with what I later learned was the beginning of Parkinson's. "Thank you for seeing me," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm not here for you," I said. "I'm here because my wife asked me to come." She nodded, accepting this. "I want you to understand something," I continued. "I'm not going to ask you why you did it. I know why. You hated my wife. You thought she wasn't good enough for your precious son. You decided to play God with our lives because you thought you knew better." She opened her mouth to speak. I held up my hand. "I'm not finished. What you did wasn't a moment of weakness. It wasn't a mistake you made in the heat of anger. It was cold. Calculated. You spent weeks, months, manipulating me. You paid money. You created fake documents. You looked me in the eye and lied, over and over again." Tears were streaming down her face now. "I felt nothing. I missed 5 years of my daughter's life because of you. I missed her losing her first tooth. Her first day of middle school. Every birthday. Every Christmas. Every soccer game and school play and parent-teacher conference. You stole that from me. You stole that from her." "I know," she sobbed. "I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Sorry isn't enough." "I know it's not. I know nothing I say will ever be enough. But I need you to understand. I never thought it would go this far. I thought you'd get divorced and move on. I thought you'd find someone else, someone I approved of, and everything would be fine. I didn't think you'd leave. I didn't think you'd fall apart like you did." "You didn't think," I agreed. "That's the problem. You didn't think about anyone but yourself." We talked for an hour. It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly. But it was something. A release of pressure that had been building for years. When I left, I told her I would see her again. Occasionally. On my terms. She agreed. Final update: where we are now. It's been 4 years since that Christmas dinner. 4 years since my mother's confession. 4 years of rebuilding what she destroyed. My wife and I are married again. Happily. We've done the work, the therapy, the communication, the painful conversations. We've built something stronger than what we had before, tempered by fire. My daughter is 17 now. She'll be a senior in high school next year. She wants to study marine biology, like her mom wanted to before she switched to nursing. She's brilliant and kind and funny, and I thank God every day that I get to be her father again. My relationship with my mother is functional. We see each other on holidays. We exchange cards on birthdays. She's met my daughter a few times, always with my wife present, and she behaves herself. She apologizes every single time she sees us. Sometimes I think she means it. Sometimes I think she's just saying the words to make herself feel better. There are moments when I look at my life now. My wife beside me, my daughter laughing at something on her phone, my modest house that feels like home, and I feel overwhelming gratitude. I got a second chance. Most people don't. But there are other moments. Late at night, usually, when I can't sleep, I'll look at photos from the years I missed. My daughter at 9. At 10. At 11. Pictures of birthday parties I wasn't at. Holidays I wasn't there for. And I feel the loss like a physical wound. Conclusion. My wife forgave me for believing the lie. She says she understood that my mother had been manipulating me my whole life, and I didn't have the tools to see it. She says love means giving people room to be imperfect. My daughter forgave me for leaving. It took longer. There were setbacks. There were nights she wouldn't talk to me and days she pretended I didn't exist. But eventually, she understood. She saw that I was trying. That I showed up every day even when it was hard. That I loved her even when I wasn't there. I even found a way to forgive my mother. Not forget. Never forget. But forgive, in the sense that I don't let my hatred for her consume me anymore. She's an old woman now, frail and diminished, living with the knowledge of what she did. That's punishment enough. But here's the truth I've learned, the hard truth that keeps me up at 3 a.m. writing posts on the internet. Forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. My wife forgave me. My daughter forgave me. I forgave my mother. But I'll never forget those 5 years. They're gone forever. And no amount of forgiveness brings them back. I missed my daughter growing from a little girl into a young woman. I missed my wife's 40th birthday. I missed 5 years of laughter and tears and ordinary Tuesday evenings. I missed everything. My mother took those years from me, and she can apologize until her dying breath, but she can never give them back. So if you're reading this, if you're in a situation where someone is poisoning your mind against someone you love, please, verify before you act. Get a second opinion. Ask questions. Don't be like me. Don't let anyone steal your time. Time is the one thing none of us can ever get back. Thanks for reading. I don't know if anyone will see this, but writing it helped. If even one person reads this and decides to double-check before blowing up their own life, it'll be worth it. To my wife, if you ever read this, thank you for waiting. Thank you for taking me back. Thank you for showing our daughter that people can change and families can heal. To my daughter, I'm sorry. I will spend the rest of my life being the father you deserved from the beginning. And to my mother, I forgive you. But I will never understand you. Edit. Thank you all for the kind words. Someone asked about the legal side. Yes, I consulted a lawyer about pressing charges for fraud or forgery. Unfortunately, the statute of limitations had passed, and the evidence was largely circumstantial after 5 years. My mother admitted what she did privately, but she's never put it in writing, and proving it in court would be nearly impossible. Sometimes justice doesn't come from the legal system. Sometimes it just comes from living well despite the people who tried to destroy you. Edit 2. For those asking about my father, he knew nothing about what she did. He was as shocked as I was at that Christmas dinner. He's apologized profusely for not seeing the signs, but I don't blame him. My mother is a master manipulator. She fooled all of us. Edit 3. My wife wanted me to add this. The lesson isn't just about verifying DNA tests. It's about trusting your partner. If your relationship is strong, if you truly know the person you're with, no amount of outside manipulation should be able to destroy it. We failed that test once. We won't fail it again. Here's what I learned about trust. Verify before you destroy. One lie, believed without question, can cost you everything. My mother stood up at Christmas dinner and said, "The DNA test wasn't real. I faked it. Your daughter is yours." She always was. 5 years. 5 years I believed my daughter wasn't mine. 5 years I stayed away while she grew up without a father. 5 years my wife waited for me to come back. My mother destroyed my family because she didn't like my wife. She stole 5 years of my daughter's life from me. She watched me suffer through the divorce, watched me drink myself to sleep, and she said nothing. I drove to my ex-wife's house that night. I saw her through the window hugging a man. My heart stopped. I was too late. I had already started my car when she ran outside. "That was my co-worker," she said. "He brought over paperwork." She said, "I've been waiting for you. For 5 years, I've been waiting." I broke down right there in her driveway. My daughter is 13 now. She doesn't fully understand what happened. She just knows Daddy left and didn't come back. How do I explain that Grandma lied? Rebuilding wasn't easy. You can't just erase 5 years of pain with, "I'm sorry." But we tried. Every single day we tried. We got remarried. I moved back home. I cut off my mother for 2 years. Eventually, my wife convinced me to reconnect. She's still your mother. What she did was unforgivable, but she's getting old. My wife forgave me for believing the lie. My daughter forgave me for leaving. I even found a way to forgive my mother. But I'll never forget those 5 years. They're gone forever. And no amount of forgiveness brings them back. I missed her first day of middle school. Every birthday. Every Christmas. My mother can apologize until her dying breath, but she can never give those years back. If someone is poisoning your mind against someone you love, verify before you act. Get a second opinion. Don't be like me. Don't let anyone steal your time. Time is the one thing none of us can ever get back.